There's many things that you'll probably come to expect when watching Isekai. I mean, after you watch a few anime seasons, there's a pattern. And then sometimes shows will creep up on you, and they don't follow no pattern. And within a couple of minutes of meeting a king, in any of these types of shows, I think the general assumption is edgy lunatic maniac that's gonna make our life living hell, or actually relatively pleasant. And in this case, we end in that relatively pleasant category. The unfortunate thing for the king, but the fortunate thing for the viewer, is that the MC kind of takes a sledgehammer to what the expectations can be, because within a couple seconds of meeting this guy, he basically threatens the king's life. Now, granted, we know we're dealing with an edgelord, but imagine being this cheerful fellow, and Daizai comes in and just is pretty much threatening your life and insulting you. And if that's not bad enough, he somehow convinces your daughter to commit double with you. And I'm like, where's episode 3? Now, of course, I have full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my full and good thoughts of this insanity. It's going to be over there exclusively. Now, I, like many, were quite impressed with episode 1. Very funny, little edgy, Truck-kun got a canon reason for existing. It was just a good time. But here's the thing. When you have that level of oomph, and you have that level of impact, there's only so many I wanna die jokes a guy could make before it could potentially get boring. And I think episode 2 did have a lot to prove that its humor and its storytelling could remain consistent and not feel like it's just doing the same thing over and over again. And that's exactly what episode 2 did. It proved that it deserves to continue past a one-shot idea. The biggest thing for me is the fact that, you know, the idea of the little princess who ends up as queen by the end of this episode, picking our boy as her quote-unquote partner, but is basically like, we're just gonna double jump off a bridge together, and ultimately she does decide to live, which is a very common thing. A lot of people who think they want to die, when actually put into a situation that would end them, they do end up deciding, no, I want to live. It is a very common behavior for a lot of people who do have darker thoughts. I love the idea, though, that for our boy, I think cruise control is the best way to put his personality. His overall mentality is, I would love to die. He does have a bit of passion when it comes to finding his girl and, you know, trying to resume their double pact. But at the end of the day, if a tree monster thing starts strangling him like in episode 1, or a giant minotaur bull is chasing after him, if that was to end him, he's good with that. He's happy, and when it doesn't work, he's like, damn. I must be the unluckiest guy alive, because once again, I have to live. Curse you, God, curse you. Like, that's basically his mentality. But what I really appreciate is what they did with his reaction to the princess. So, you know, they have a little late night talk. It honestly sounded like, if anyone's ever played The Legend of Zelda, you know the Great Fairy music. When he was talking with her at night, it honestly reminded me of Great Fairy music. It was beautiful. I loved it. And it's probably the first anime to give me that exact vibe. So I'm liking the music is what I'm saying. But the idea that you could have easily just went with, you know, the typical, okay, here's yet again another character who's going to join the quote-unquote harem. Because we know for him, he's in love with one thing and one thing only, and that is the sweet release of death. And obviously finding this girl. And when you have a Neko girl, a goddess priestess type girl, and both of them are pretty much like doing tug and war of who gets more affection from our boy, and he's just in love with death. When you add in the political marriage thing, like, you could very much just rapidly build into a bigger and bigger thing. And what they ended up doing instead was a girl who was just very conflicted in life. And, you know, they actually had a fun piece of storytelling that actually felt mature on top of having that edgy humor as well. So she's forced to pick a political marriage, right? Here's this big buff warrior dude, who very much would be a good pick for if you want to keep people safe. Or here's the childhood friend dynamic who makes me happy. My initial response was, go for the childhood friend. Of course, I know she's going to pick her boy Daizai, but, you know, that's what makes sense. And they actually kind of pull the rug from under my feet a bit with, like, the real, be like, oh, this dude smells. I'm like, okay, whatever, that makes sense. He doesn't really look like the gentlest of lovers. She's going for the childhood friend. No, I actually don't want him either, because I realize, well, yes, he did play me music when I was sad. He always plays me music. I just think he likes playing music, and the dude doesn't even argue. He's like, just jamming. Brilliant. I love that. And the idea that she picks him and, you know, she's thinking that she wants to go out, and the fact that she chooses to live for herself, because you can't force someone to live at the end of the day. You can prolong their life. But at the end of the day, they have to be the one to decide if they want to. And all you can do is try to comfort them and stuff. And while I don't think this man is the best therapist I highly recommend, if you know anyone with the exact mentality of our MC, do not let them explain if someone should live or die. But in this particular moment, his suicidal maniac attempts were the reason that she had that wake-up call, of course. But it's just such a good episode. Like, I think if you're looking at pure unexpected comedy, the first episode, because you're just not expecting it. But I think in actuality, they're pretty much equal in terms of structure and formula, and it's really, really good. Enjoy what they're doing with the cast overall. There's some gimmicks and gags that I quite enjoy that seemingly are going to be around for a long time. The fact that we ended last episode with the Cole coffin gag, they get into the middle of town and they just leave the coffin, and a couple of random people are just like, what the hell is that doing here? I love that. I love when the cast in an anime can just be like self-aware and say, hey, we're not just static background characters. Like, for us, this is reality. Why in God's name is there a coffin in the middle of the market? The fact that they're still pulling him, like, he is the laziest mofo on earth. And the fact that he forced them to carry him up a hill at the end, like, the dude has no respect. Now, if you watch after the credits, it's a little intense. It seems like he got his wish and he is now officially game over. Now, obviously, they're going to get the best healing spells in the book, so unfortunately for him, from his point of view, he will be forced to live. But I'll be interested to see what the hell happened, because they did get their asses jumped, seemingly. Maybe the Minotaur? I mean, I'm pretty sure that little Minotaur beast is going to come back at some point. He clearly isn't dead. He just got tossed into the river, the lakeside. But either way, it's not often you can have an anime that can completely subvert your expectations of the tropes and cliches, especially on the political side of the climate. It's either super mean or super nice. They're usually not an in-between. And the fact that we go super... If this was a mean king, our boy would have actually died, or at the very least, he would have been thrown in jail. He was dealing with a cinnamon roll of a king who, you know, may not have made the best decisions completely, which is now why the princess is on the throne. But still, the fact that he can just casually threaten him and, you know, steal his daughter away for double jump off the bridge fun times, insane. Let me know what you thought of this week's episode. I think we have a very good taste of what to expect from the show, so let me know if you're going to be continuing it down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around, of course, ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Jonas Welbling, Flabdorks 414, Wen 2X, Drift, Uhando Itsuhu, and we also have Andrew Hongman. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and you'll have a good one.